Hello, this is Angel Advocate coming to you live with a stuffy nose and the goddamn truth. Today we are going to be discussing what is the title of the video, Opportunity Knocks, Lessons from the Dark Side. Now, if any of you are like me, you can completely relate when I say that I have wasted, maybe not wasted because I learned a lot, but I have spent a large portion of my life dating really dark side people and surrounding myself with just the wrong kinds of people. And when I say wrong, I mean people that didn't want good for me and didn't even want good for themselves. And they don't want to focus on good. They don't want to manifest anything. They don't want a great life. That's not their focus, and that is my focus. So with all the knowledge that I have gleaned, I have realized that we can all learn something from those darker individuals, and there's no need to just throw them out. They're there for the contrast and to help us realize what we really need to be focusing on and some things that we could be doing differently. And today, on the day of mirrors, today is a palindrome, 2/22, 2022. I really wanted to get this out on the mirror. Now, I could sit here and be like, you know what, this is not perfect. I'm sick, like, I haven't wrote out everything I want to say. You know, I could sit here and come up with a million excuses. And I've noticed that people on the light side tend to do that. We end up not really being active in the world and then wondering why the world isn't the way we want it to be, when we're sitting around with all these excuses and focusing on the things that we don't like. And so we have no one but ourselves to blame when things don't go up to our standards. So, opportunity knocks, lessons from the dark side. So something about people that tend to be on the darker side of the spectrum, and I know it's a spectrum, is they don't wait for perfection. Because they're not perfect and they don't wish to be perfect. They don't like anything perfect. They don't really enjoy anything good because they're upset about how things have happened, and so they really just want more of those bad things to happen to other people that are happening to them or that have happened to them. And so this is something that we can actually take from them, something that holds us back, at least for me, almost every day, is I want perfection. I'm like, okay, but it's not perfect, so I'm not going to do anything. You know, like, I'm not the weight I want to be, so I'm not going to go be a public speaker. Or I don't exactly have the expertise, you know, maybe I don't have a master's degree, so I shouldn't really be giving people advice, or not everything in my life is the way I want it to be. But in actuality, what we need to be focusing on is the simple fact that who you are and who you are inside and on the other side, if you believe like me, is that God spark. You are a ray of the divine. And so if you're not sharing and talking about the things that are important to you and really sharing your point of view, then you're not being yourself. You're not being authentic, and that in and of itself is a trait of the dark side. And so if you are going to live inauthentically, everything that you are manifesting, the life that you want, the life that is meant for you, you can't have, because it's not you. You're not playing your part. You're not actively taking on your role. And when you don't actively take on your role, then you can't get all the things that come with that role. So, for instance, let's just use a dumb example. Let's say Legally Blonde, you know, if Elle Woods wasn't being herself and she wasn't showing up bubbly and happy and in the clothes that she likes that make her feel good, would she have the confidence to get through law school? You know, all the things that have to do with that character, she wouldn't be getting those things if she wasn't acting as herself, if she was too worried about perfection. So if we can get over that hump of needing something to be perfect, For instance, like right now, I'm sick and I'm doing this video, and I've been putting off doing YouTube videos for so long. I have so much to say. I have so much that I want to share with you guys. And I think part of it also is I have that entertainer inside of me that really wants and likes to put on a show, and it's not inauthentic. It's just something I love to do. I love to be dramatic and out there, and so I think that by not doing it for so long, I have pretty much just allowed myself to live a life that I'm not meant to live, because I'm not being me, and only the truest version of me can really have access to all the blessings that are for me, if that makes sense. So if you're not following that inner voice inside of you, if you're not following the voice that comes from your higher self, and instead you're just so worried about impressing other people, you're so worried about making sure everything is perfect, then you're not going to live that amazing life that is meant for you, and that you have destined and designed and ordained for yourself. So my next point is, I kind of touched on it a little bit, is being dramatic, okay? So people on the dark side, they are not afraid when they want to, when they think it will benefit them, to make a big show of things, okay? So they're not afraid of putting on all the glitz and the glamour. They're not afraid of making a big show of it. For instance, excuse me, like when you have, let's say that you're dating a dirtbag, right? And I say dirtbag because he's never kept his word to you. He doesn't add anything to your life. He just takes from your life. You know, maybe he steals your time, or he steals your ideas, or any of those things, and he really takes you for granted. And you guys have this on and off again relationship, right? Like, that's a really common theme between light beings and dark, is they have this on and off again thing, because that contrast, it does make for a lot of drama. And in this world, it's definitely a sustainable thing. We live in such a dualistic universe that anything that is on again, off again, is going to have a really strong pull in this simulation. So basically, they're not afraid of being dramatic, okay? They're not afraid of making a big show. That dirtbag is going to get on his knees with his guitar. He's going to tell you all the things that maybe you've dreamt of, that all the right things, right? But see, the difference between that dirtbag and you is those things he doesn't actually mean. He just knows that those are his lines, that that's what he's supposed to say. Whereas for you, if you were to say those are things that you actually mean. Those are things that you actually want. Those are things that you dream about, or that you dream about giving to somebody else. So I think that people on the light side are a little bit afraid of, frankly, making a big to-do and making a big production, and really going all out there and being themselves and putting it all out there, because they don't want to be seen as inauthentic. And it's a little bit like, okay, do I deserve this? I don't know if I'm quite good enough. So it's the perfectionism a little bit that keeps them from being dramatic. But I want to tell you, if you have something that you are passionate about, if you have something in your life that you have been wanting to go after, and honestly, we should be passionate about our lives. If we are pro-living, if we are pro-life, if we are excited about life all the time, if we want to have a good life, if we're not nihilistic and we do think that life can be good and you are idealistic, then you should be going out there every day and putting your best foot forward. And I'm saying that to myself as well, because oftentimes I just get in these slumps where I'm like, you know, what do I matter? You know, no one's going to notice if I just like throw on some clothes that aren't really me, if I just like throw on some sweats and go, or you know, no one's gonna care if I just like pig out and sit here all day, and you know, like, it's nobody's gonna care. But guess what? You're gonna care, right, you're gonna care. Who it's going to affect is definitely you and the people that you love and the people that you're co-creating with and the people that you're on this journey with. And so if you cannot be authentic because you're afraid of something not being perfect, or if you're too afraid of being seen or being too dramatic, then that's something that you can definitely learn from the dark side and say, you know what? Maybe it's okay if I get a little glitz and glamour. Maybe it's okay if I do it big, as long as it's authentic, as long as it really comes from you and it really is your personality or things that light you up. What is it? Marie Kondo, she talks about holding an item and seeing if it sparks joy for you. Like, okay, does this item spark joy for me? Yes or no? So if you could ask yourself that about, you know, the way you present yourself, like the clothes that you really want to wear, the things that make you happy, if you can ask yourself that and you're not doing it for other people, you're just doing it for yourself, then that is what's going to light you up. That's what's going to light your life up, your life path, your manifestations, everything that God, that your higher self has in store for you. That entire timeline of choices and paths and diversions, all those things are going to light up for you. And all those things are attainable and accessible once you choose to play your role or your part, your true role or your true part, who you really are. Like, for instance, for me, you know, if you're so full of insecurities or if you're on the light side, you tend to be like more judgmental. And I can definitely be that way, but not only towards others, but also myself. So if I'm like, oh, like, I don't always have all the right words in the moment, or oh, I get too excitable, or oh, I'm just like too little kiddish, or all these things that I have like playing in my head. If I'm like, oh, like I'm not good enough for that, or I can't be that, or whatever. If I'm so focused on everything that I'm not, or that I think I'm not, then guess what? I am never gonna be what I am. Okay? So nobody can be me. Nobody can play my part. There's this song by Jessie Reyes, I think, and she goes, "These bitches can't make it to my ankles, to my ankles." Okay, so this is how you have to feel about yourself, and it's true, because honestly, exactly who you are, whoever you are, light or dark, honestly, that is who you're meant to be. That's who you're designed to be. That's who you chose to be. That is what the highest meaning you have is to be that most authentic version of yourself. Now, when I was younger, I didn't really understand the word authentic because I'm such a dualistic person. So I have my sun in Gemini, my moon in Pisces, and my rising in Libra. And I always had all these dualistic, warring thoughts in my head where it was like, okay, but like, what's authentic? What's original? Like, nothing is original, nothing is really authentic. You know, we're all just kind of like copies and conglomerations of different parts and pieces that we put together. And I used to not understand the word authentic, but now I do. So for me, my new understanding of the word authentic is anything that lights you up, anything that makes you feel passionate or excited, anything that feels like things you like, anything that looks like things you want in your life, anything that holds an ideal that you really appreciate and that you really respect. Those things are what make you authentic, okay? And so it's staying true to anything and everything you want. It is being really honest with yourself and saying, what do I really want? If it had nothing to do with the people around me, if it had nothing to do with the people that I've dated, if it had nothing to do with where I'm at now, what do I really want? When I look out into this simulated universe, when I look around and I say, okay, I like this, I like that dress, I like that smile, I like this chai tea, I like that mountain. When we start to like make these lists of things that we like and that we want to experience, we start to activate that law of attraction. and we start to activate the very power of the simulation. And you do this whether you know it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not, right? But you can practice it to do it more so and to do it more consciously. But so if you're always like too afraid to sort of venture off into new territory, and like, so something, a characteristic of a light side is, okay, sometimes they like stay to the straight and narrow a little bit too much. You know, things are about the balance. I saw this YouTube video and he was talking about how energy flows best in the gray area, and that spoke to me so much because honestly, like, it makes so much sense. He was talking about how when you want something really, really strongly, and you're just sitting there like, I want this, 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 like, your voice is so powerful that because you're not shutting up for 5 minutes, the universe can't even do its job to give to you what it is trying to give to you. And so it's like, okay, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. But sometimes you just gotta like shut up. And so there's this gray area where you want to pay attention to the things that you want, right? You want to say, I do want this. This is actually something that I want. But at the same time, then you have to be able to be quiet and say, okay, let me just see what happens. Let me just look around me right now. You know, let me be really present and see what's coming towards me and be open to new things that are coming towards me. Because sometimes when we have a new desire, the simulation will automatically spit out something that is the closest attachment to what you're experiencing right now, or what you are open to believing in right now. So let's see. I am not going to say that I am an expert by any means in like having the most expensive life and like, or being a model or just being any of those things. I am me, I am myself. And all I can do is talk about my own experiences. And when I think about my own experiences, like, I really am an expert in this subject, exposing the dark side. And you know, sometimes I think that people on the light side are like, we're sitting around, like, most of our lives we're just sitting around like judging other people, and that's like a huge problem because we're not out there living, we're not out there doing the actions. Like, we just want to complain about how the elite or anyone that we see as being in charge of our universe or our simulation, and how they're letting us down, whether it's our ex-boyfriends or our friends or our parents. You know, it's more difficult to take responsibility for our own lives and actions because they don't sit there and like process their actions and think about it first. Like, okay, if I do this, like, what will this do to XYZ? They just think about themselves, right? But if you have a good heart and you have pure intentions and you really want good things for yourself and other people, then that thinking is never going to be bad. You just focusing on yourself is never going to be a bad thing, because there is not going to be anything that is going to happen that's bad. You are going to connect with and mesh with other people that you complement, and that complement you, and it's just going to be this working, helpful collaboration. So basically, one of the fuels that the dark side has is they have like entitlement. A way to describe this is like thinking of those rap songs, like, I'm the shit, like, I'm that bitch, you know, all those things, right? They have this sense of entitlement, and the reason why that works for them is because A, they don't take no for an answer for the things that they want. B, they have a very strong focus on themselves, and so they do tend to attract the things that they want, you know, more than maybe someone in the light side that's just sitting there like, oh, I don't know if I should do that. Like, I don't know if I deserve those things. I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if I have the right word. You know, all these excuses that we have in our heads. I have been prime candidate A for that. For most of my life, you know, I am really realizing that the reason I'm not where I want to be, and the reason that I don't have the things that I want, or the types of people that I've always wanted in my life and that I've always wanted to love, the reason I don't have that is because I was too busy focusing on other people instead of getting off my ass and focusing on what I wanted, and focusing on my goals, and focusing on my creative abilities and all of those things. The struggle is not real. The struggle is not real. So yeah. I've also noticed that during this video, I have like talked about words from other people, right? And that was one thing that really kept me from doing videos. Is I was like, well, you know, how do you know? Because I'm so, you know, like devil's advocate, but this is angel's advocate. Because I think about both sides of things, I was like, well, how do I know if I deserve to be talking about this? Or how do I know if I have the right advice, or if I'm an expert on this topic? And for one, like, you never know what's right, because this universe is such a gray area, right? It's murky because it is dualistic, because both A and B are true at the same time under different circumstances, under different situations. That's really hard for people to kind of grasp, right? And so if you get stuck on, I have to be right for all of time, right? That's not going to get you anywhere. You're not ever going to be in the now. You're never going to do anything now. And so a lot of the things I'm mentioning are all fear-based. And that is one of the things, I mean, even the Bible talks about how that is pretty much like the main weapon, right? Like Satan's main weapon, so to speak. But it's like you're also warring against yourself, like your own fears. That you've allowed, or that you've questioned, or that maybe on some level you've wanted to explore, right? And that's what you get. The simulation gives you exactly what you focus on, exactly what you believe, exactly what you're curious about. Those things, that's what you're going to see, and that's what you're going to end up experiencing in your life. Hold on, I need a drink. My little stuffy nose. I got my juice box. Don't judge me. I'm judging myself. Okay. So one thing, let's get back on track. One of the things or lessons that I've learned from the dark side is do not be afraid to repeat other people's words. So I'm not saying go so far as to steal other people's content. Give those people the credit for their content. But if something is true and something is good and interesting and it lights you up, then definitely share it, definitely repeat it. Just mention that you heard it from someone else. Even if you don't remember the name, mention it was from someone else. You know, give those people credit. Be authentic and say, I heard this from someone else and I loved that, right? So we don't want to be all the way on the dark side. We want to be in the gray area where energy flows the best. So if you are too far on the light side, go a little bit towards the dark side. Go into that middle ground. And don't be afraid to repeat the words that others have said. Because I was so afraid that I would just be regurgitating what I've heard from other people, and that I wouldn't be giving enough value to a video or to the internet or to the world. And so for so long, I didn't do anything. I wasn't producing content. I wasn't putting myself out there because of that insecurity and because of that fear. And because I didn't want to just repeat other people's words. I wanted to give actual value. People on the dark side, they don't care about values or value. They do not care about what they are giving or contributing to the world, to others. Half the time, it's because they don't care about themselves. And so they really don't care who they are or what they do. And that can be really hurtful. And I'm not saying to be hurtful and steal other people's content, but I am saying that if you learn something amazing, and like for instance, one of my biggest influences has been Abraham Hicks. In the beginning of my journey, it was Spirit Science, Abraham Hicks, The Peace Stealer, and The Quietest Revolution. And those videos on YouTube, I would listen to hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of content. And a lot of my beliefs have been shaped by those influences. And, you know, don't be afraid to say where you're getting your information from. Don't be afraid to, like, re-put that information out there. As long as you're citing your work, then your work is beautiful. And oftentimes, what makes someone so beautiful are those different factors that have contributed into making them. It's not just them, it's not just like what they were born with, you know, it's not just their natural person. It's all the things that they've been exposed to. It's all their experiences. It's all the people that have played roles in their life. And it's all the words they've heard from genius, amazing people. So let's kind of do a little bit of a recap. Don't get stuck in striving for perfection. Don't be afraid to do it big and do it all and go all the way. Don't be afraid to put yourself first. And don't be afraid to repeat other people's words, and incorporate other people's things into your gift, into your giving. So for me, like, I was so afraid. Like, I don't want to just repeat other people. But you know what? If, as long as I say this is where I got it from, or I heard this from somebody else, then that's not coming from a bad intention. That's me wanting to get it out more. That's me being excited and lit up. And if you are lit up about something, then you belong there. Period. God, the universe, your higher self, whatever you call it. For me, I believe that on the other side, I am basically like a baby God, right? And I am here in this physical body that is in a mechanical type of a simulation, and I'm experiencing this world. And I believe that I have human wants, and I also believe that I have God wants. And I can do more videos on those beliefs, but basically, because I have that belief, if it's something that lights you up, it is not bad, it is not wrong. It is exactly who you are supposed to be and what role that you're supposed to play. It's funny, I have these tarot cards up here, and it really reminds me of that, how people are just like tarot cards. It's like, if you know anything about tarot cards, you know, every card means something different, and it's like they all play these roles to create the story. Even in the Bible, and I'm going to give a lot of biblical references just because I grew up Christian. In the Bible, you know, what would the Bible be without those contrasting people, without the serpent in Genesis? You know, what would the Bible be without them? The story wouldn't progress. We wouldn't learn as much, right? We need all types of characters to complete the story. And so even in the tarot, you know, you have the devil card, you have the tower card. You know, these cards are there for a reason. They have a purpose. They give a greater meaning, and a stronger meaning. When you know extreme sadness, and I'm not advocating for extreme emotions, though I am the type of person that can get caught in them. When you know extreme sadness, then knowing extreme happiness is, I mean, it's even more so than someone that has never experienced any extreme. Happiness is just like, oh, that's great. It's kind of like if you have gone without before, then material objects are like really important to you, right? These are contrasting events in our lives. And when we have contrasting people in our lives, it really does teach us who we are more, shows us our boundaries of our character, shows us who we are and what we really care about. And that puts us on a dualistic plane, but that's where we're living, and that's what we wanted to experience when we came here. In my opinion, I think that they're meant to be. I think that everyone plays a part in the world. Everyone's meant to be, everyone's supposed to be here. Now, let's see. Also, something else I've learned from the dark side is people on the dark side tend to be a little bit braver than people on the light side. They kind of have these balls that you're like, how dare you? You know, they can do things that are really shocking. But the reason for that is again, they don't care how they come across. They really don't care about repercussions or how what they do affects others. And so they do tend to be braver because they already are not happy with themselves. They know that they're not living in the light. And so they're not afraid to do something wrong, and so that makes them braver, because if they think they can get away with it, they'll do it. And being on the light side, if you have pure intentions and you are full of light and your soul is full of light, then that is fuel that is not only healthy for you to have for you and others, but it's also necessary. Being able to be brave, and not just in standing up for yourself, but being brave and being who you are, not just when you're challenged. I can fall into that pitfall sometimes when I'm only brave when I'm challenged. I have that Mars and Leo, and I'm like, oh, you're gonna go there, okay, then I'll go here. And that's what it's for. The dark side, that's what they're for. They are a catalyst to your growth. And just really seeing them that way, and seeing, sorry about my stuffy nose, and just seeing that they had a purpose, and that they have a purpose, and that purpose is really something not just beneficial for you, but so necessary for you and for your growth, and for your expression. So, yeah, I have a very extensive history and past with the dark side, and I just wanted to come and give all this information and put it out on the mirror of the universe, and just kind of talk it out with you guys. And, you know, I would love to hear in the comments what your experience with the dark side has been. For me, it's been anything from finding, dating people that I found their murder mementos, to dating people that constantly lied or abused me, just different things. And I realized that in every single one of those relationships, I had a choice to be there. I made a choice at every second of the way. So we cannot fall into any kind of a victim mode, and we really have to take responsibility and say, even if in the moment I don't understand why I'm here, I will understand it later down the road. I will see why I made those choices, and that I did make those choices to be there in that position, and that everything that happened was for a reason. And, sometimes I think that people on the lighter side, and maybe people on the dark side too, because they do have a lot of shame and guilt, so maybe just beings in general, right? I think that sometimes, especially if you're a deep thinker or you have big dreams, sometimes we really take our mistakes to heart, and we see something that we've done wrong, and we're like, it's over. Everything's over. But the fact of the matter is, and what the real truth is that nothing is over, right, until you have completed your purpose, right? And until you're done. And so, you know, our mistakes and those things that we've experienced in our life, they don't have to be like that big of a deal. Obviously try not to repeat the ones that suck the most, right? But also being able to analyze your past and see, okay, well, I made this choice because of this, but this is what I want instead. And so maybe I'll try to lean more towards doing this differently next time. You know, living in that gray area, and it's all about little actions. It's all about tweaking our experiences, tweaking our actions, tweaking our choices, tweaking our thoughts. Those small adjustments kind of make all the difference. Um, yeah, and so I think I've said all I have to say today about that. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for turning into Angel Advocate. And thank you for putting up with me. And I really appreciate your views. And please comment anything that you have learned from the dark side. I intend to continue to do exposés on the general behavior of the dark side individuals and how we can learn from them and how we can further benefit and further the glory of the light and the things that we love and the things we're passionate about and the way that we want to see the world going. Until next time, bye bye.